Hi, fourth graders. It's Heckman here, and today we're going to be starting a brand new story from our text collection. This one is another tall tale, and we learned from tall tales like how the stars fell into the sky that we're going to see lots of exaggeration and larger than life characters. So today as we read, I hope you enjoy getting to know one of the most larger than life characters I've ever read about, and it's called Pecos Bill. So let's go ahead and switch the camera over and start reading. Here's our story. We're on page 51 of the text collection, and this is from American Tall Tales, and it's written by Mary Pope Osborne, which might be a familiar name to you if you've ever read The Magic Tree House. There are wood engravings by Michael McCurdy in this book as well. Pecos Bill. Notes on the story. Yarns about Pecos Bill, the greatest cowpuncher ever known on either side of the Rockies, from Texas through Montana and on into Canada, first appeared in a 1923 Century magazine. The author of the piece, Edward O'Reilly, wrote the saga of Pecos Bill by combining a number of Western folklore episodes with the boastful comic tall tale language of heroes such as Davy Crockett and Paul Bunyan. After O'Reilly invented the character of Pecos Bill, many others revised and expanded upon the yarns in dozens of books, articles, poems, recordings, and plays. Pecos Bill seemed to capture the spirit of an earlier America, wild, untamed, and unsocialized. He even added an occasional note of his own brand of recklessness to the stories about other tall tale characters as well. In an original, this is a name I'm not familiar with, so I'm just going to do my best on it. Feebled Feebleson story. Feebled and Pecos Bill have a shootout, and in a Paul Bunyan anthology, Pecos Bill teaches Paul how to ride a streak of lightning. This tale about Pecos Bill was derived from the O'Reilly saga, as well as a number of other retellings. Now that you know a little bit about the story, let's jump into it. Here's page 52, and we just get this beautiful picture. And here's page 53. Ask any coyote near the Pecos River in western Texas who was the best cowboy who ever lived, and he'll throw back his head and howl, "Ow!" If you didn't know already, that's coyote language for Pecos Bill. When Pecos Bill was a little baby, he was as tough as a pine knot. He teethed on horseshoes instead of teething rings, and played with grizzly bears instead of teddy bears. He could have grown up just fine in the untamed land of eastern Texas. But one day, his pappy ran in from the fields hollering, "Pack up, Ma! Neighbors moving in 50 miles away. It's getting too crowded." Before sundown, Bill's folks loaded their 15 kids and all their belongings into a covered wagon and started west. As they clattered across the desolate land of western Texas, the crushing heat nearly drove them all crazy. Baby Bill got so hot and cross that he began to wallop his big brothers. Pretty soon, all 15 kids were going at one another tooth and nail. Before they turned each other into catfish bait, Bill fell out of the wagon and landed, kerplop, on the sun-scorched desert. The others were so busy fighting that they didn't even notice the baby was missing until it was too late to do anything about it. Well, tough little Bill just sat there in the dirt, watching his family rattle off in a cloud of dust until an old coyote walked over and sniffed him. "Goo goo," Bill said. Now, it's an amazing coincidence, but goo goo happens to mean something similar to glad to meet you in coyote language. Naturally, the old coyote figured he'd come across one of his own kind. He gave Bill a big lick and picked him up by the scruff of the neck and carried him home to his den. Bill soon discovered the coyote's kinfolk were about the wildest, roughest bunch you could imagine. Before he knew it, he was roaming the prairie with the pack. He howled at the moon, sniffed the brush, and chased lizards across the sand. He was having such a good time scuttling about, naked and dirty on all fours, that he completely forgot what it was like to be a human. Pecos Bill's coyote days came to an end about 17 years later. One evening, as he was sniffing the sagebrush, a cowpoke came loping by on a big horse. "Hey you," he shouted. "What in the world are you?" Bill sat on his haunches and stared at the feller. "What are you?" asked the cowpoke again. "Varmint," said Bill hoarsely, for he hadn't used his human voice in 17 years. We're going to find out more about what happens to Pecos Bill the next time we read. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.